President Trump, Stephen Miller, and former White House Chief of Staff Reince Priebus. Ari, you were very invested. You know Dave McCormick personally. That was always going to be a tough race. It was a tough race. He beat a career politician. Huge pickup for Republicans. Congratulations. Why did it happen?
Well, and I should disclose, I actually did work on that campaign. It happened, Sean, because the people of Pennsylvania wanted change. They wanted something different, and I think they concluded that Bob Casey was just a kind of quiet status quo and that he shifted too far to the left with the whole rest of the Democratic Party, and he fell out with where Pennsylvanians believe. Dave McCormick, West Point graduate, 82nd Airborne, he kind of was much more in tune with the state, and Donald Trump's victory helped as well, the fact that Trump was able to carry Pennsylvania. But people want normal, common sense solutions. They don't want liberal nonsense. And that's really where Pennsylvania is.
Yeah, it really well said. You know, Reince, I'm not going to lie. Full disclosure, as long as Ari's doing it, I guess it's confession time. I checked in with you a lot all throughout the days leading up to the election and on Election Day. And the day before the election, you said mathematically there's no way, based on early voting numbers, that Democrats would be able to make up the vote on Election Day to come back, and it was your strong belief. And you said this the day before Election Day, Donald Trump will win Wisconsin. How did you know?
Well, I knew because there are two buckets of votes that, if you're into this game and the mechanics, there's an early vote and there's the Election Day vote. And the Democrats had way too big of a hill to climb to make up the vote on Election Day. I also thought that that Donald Trump would win all three of the Midwest states because the only people left, the 3.5% undecided, that 3.5% is the same person in Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. I mean, look, the Democrats' entire campaign right now was all about Donald Trump, how unacceptable Donald Trump was. And Donald Trump took a wrecking ball to the Democrat Party. And hats off to Susie and Chris and Michael Watley and Lara. They did a great job. But here's the reality. The reality is Donald Trump won in places in New Jersey, in New York, in Minnesota, where there was no ground game. There was no party. There were no ads or messages. Donald Trump won across the board, popular vote. He won in Puerto Rican communities in Florida. By the way, the new governor in Puerto Rico is not only just the Republican representative of Puerto Rico, she was the former chairwoman of the Republican Party of Puerto Rico. Their Senate president's a Republican. Their Senate speaker is a Republican. So this idea that Puerto Rico's just a bunch of Democrats is totally false. And Donald Trump won that in the Puerto Rican community. I mean, it's an unbelievable mandate. It is a complete and total annihilation of the progressive movement in the United States.
Stephen Miller, let's get your overall view. And you know, a lot of people are on the left are trying to continue the fear-mongering, the demagoguing, the hyperbole that Donald Trump is going to be a dictator from day one. That comment was made to me. I said, people claim you're going to do this. He said, just for one day, because I'm going to make us on day one energy dominant and I'm going to fix the border. But that's it. They cut off the sentence right there. They did it on purpose. They lied, manipulated, all of it. But to me, where his passion is, and he expressed this on election night when he spoke, is that he wants to bring America back, fix the borders, fix the economy, bring back law and order, energy dominance. He brought us to energy independence for the first time in 75 years. And frankly, to make the world a safer place. I don't think he's going to have much time to care about liberal commentators on TV.
Yes, well, what you see on TV, some of these tiers from the radical Marxists and progressives, just underscores, again, why Donald Trump won such a massive historic landslide. A victory, when you take into account what he was up against, that is unparalleled in not just the history of our country, but modern history in any country, because he spoke to the hopes and dreams of Americans, Sean. He talked about having a sovereign, secure border, about, as you said, not just energy independence, but energy dominance, being the energy market for planet Earth, about ending wars and restoring peace and stability all over the planet. He talked about revolutionizing science and technology, sending an American astronaut to Mars, working with Elon Musk to lead the way into space. Radical reductions in wasteful government regulation to create an economic boom, reshoring our jobs from overseas to be manufacturing independent. Sean, this was truly, as he said, a golden age of America plan. This is the reason why he won that massive landslide. It was not just the most brilliant campaign in history, but it was also the most brilliant policy strategy in history, and that is how he's going to unite America, behind that plan for total national success.
I think, Ari, if the president focuses in on the agenda, that will be his legacy. That will be where his greatest success will be. Thoughts?
Sean, I think something else is going to be different in his second term. The mainstream media is much less significant than they were in 2017 when they went nuts with collusion and the Steele dossier. He's not going to be under the withering attack that he was before. He's going to be able to rise above it and not have to deal with these distractions from the side. Their playbook was tried against him, it failed, and now he can concentrate on his job. He can concentrate on governing and leading this country to that boom that he talks about. I think that's going to be a big difference. The Democrats are marginalized, the press is marginalized, and Trump can do his job and not have to worry about protecting his flank from these nonsense charges. That's going to be a difference in his second term.
Yeah, I agree completely. Appreciate you all. Congratulations to all three of you. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.